Hi, my name is Katerina. I'm the Director of User Experience here at Habanero. And with me today is Mallory, one of our senior IAs, actually our senior IA. And we're going to be talking about trends in user experience. This is our second installation, so if you caught our first one on prototyping and you're back for more, yay. So why don't we just dive right on in?
Sure.
So what's the trend we're going to talk about this time?
I think we're noticing just some evolution of roles in the user experience realm, and that was just something that I'm interested in, and something that I thought we should talk about.
Cool. Just to be the old person for a moment, I remember when I started at Habanero, the roles were, we had a production team, and that was about it. And so, yeah, things have changed a lot. So it'd be great to hear about how you've seen that and what you think might have caused this evolution.
Yeah, I mean, there certainly have been a change of roles and responsibilities over the last 10 years that I've been involved in the industry, and during that time when the internet was sort of gaining popularity, sort of late 90s kind of thing, there was certainly a very generalist approach to how people's teams were structured. As you said, just production. You had one person who wore many hats, or you might have, if you were lucky, but have a team of two. And those people would do design. They would do information architecture, even though there probably wasn't even a name for it at the time. They would do a variety of different tasks. And it all be bundled under one role. And I think part of that was just because we didn't really know what it was about. The solutions weren't super sophisticated at the time. Those sort of first early sites were pretty brochureware oriented, and that's, most people could deliver a little bit of code, a little bit of design, a little bit of IA, and that worked just fine. But sort of the next wave that we saw was as we started to get way more complex solutions and dealing with line of business systems and integration and different platforms, we saw that there was probably this specialization. So it's kind of the realm of the specialist, where people would be very, very narrow and very focused on one aspect of a role. You'd have the development of the information architect role. You had the development of the visual designer role. Here at Habanero, we developed the front-end user experience developer, who developed all of the interaction, JavaScript, CSS kind of specialty. So you saw very, very deep specialties, larger teams, that kind of thing. And then, so what we've been sort of noticing over the last little while is sort of the next phase with almost more overlapping roles. And that sort of seems to be an interesting blend of people with different experience, people coming to the table, I think, with a variety of different backgrounds, going to education programs that didn't exist 10 years ago, coming up with degrees that sort of span a whole bunch of realms that they can dive into. So it's similar to the beginning, except we have people who actually have education in certain areas and deeper experience. We also have, just internally different processes. We've seen the impact of agile methodology. So we have teams that are all in, and we see a little bit more blending of roles. So that's part of what we've been seeing, even between our user experience team and in other parts of our organization. We also have, business analysts and information architecture that kind of works hand in hand.
Yeah.
So that's been really interesting, and we've got new technologies as well, like social media, and so we're seeing new roles even that are popping up, like the social media strategy role. And we're seeing roles that really haven't had a lot of traction, like the content strategist, that are sort of coming up in prominence. So we're seeing people taking on different roles within projects. So it's been a really fascinating observation. And also now that we're 10, 12 years into more mature teams, I think we're also starting to find that people are looking for direction about maturity of their roles. So they don't want to be just doing the same thing for 10 years. What happens? You can put a senior on something, but what does that mean? So we've been sort of working internally, trying to figure out what that means for our team, and talking about user experience roles and what that maturity model looks like. So we've been looking at this sort of next wave and calling it sort of the artisan model. So we sort of borrowed that from Will Evans and his discussion with the adaptive path around sort of UX maturity. They had it as a bit more of a pyramid. I mean, we're thinking of it more as kind of like that sort of Russian doll kind of approach, where You have people at that sort of apprenticeship level who are really focused on skills and really looking at delivery and really building their experience. Then you have the next level, which encompasses all of that, but then starts to take it to a bit more of a leadership level, where people are then starting to take on a bit more responsibility, guiding processes, and working on more complex solutions. And being a bit more independent. And then you have sort of that and that would be, I would call that like the, in equivalent to the artisan approach, kind of like the skilled apprentice. And then you have at that sort of next level, you have or skilled craftsperson, and then you have the master craftsperson, who's the person who really can take that role, and they can carry on all of the sort of the two levels within it, still being able to deliver, but then can also cross domains. They can represent all aspects of the business. So we're trying to build that because we want a team that's going to be around here for a long time, and we have to be mindful that people need some focus and direction moving forward. So, and we're finding that that the impact of that is just we've got different people with different roles, and we're resourcing projects quite differently because of these new sort of evolving sort of blended roles.
Yeah, at the height of that second wave, it seemed like one of the downsides to that were really large project teams, because everybody wanted to be in right from the very beginning. Everyone had super valuable perspectives, but it's really not practical to have 12 people in a project right from the get-go, and probably not all that effective ultimately either. So this third wave is an interesting one. I think we're going to see that there's going to be a tremendous amount of interesting innovation that comes out of knowledge transfer and communication within a team, just given that you're going to have some very senior people who need to get the information out to other people. Not everyone can be there. So super interesting. And I guess, so there's an example of some of the impact to us here. I mean, can you think of some other areas that how it's had there's been an impact?
Sure, I think if you look to the industry, user experience teams aren't just in consulting roles like ours. So there's user experience teams that work client side, so they might be embedded within organizations. And for people who are involved in hiring or resourcing, they might want to be knowledgeable about the fact that they might be looking for different skill sets, or recruiting from different organizations or educational institutions that provide sort of a different foundation for the people that they're bringing into their groups. And I think it'll have a big impact on the kind of skills that people are going to be asking for in terms of clients working with us. And from our perspective, it's going to be a big resourcing sort of just making sure we figure out how we got the right level of artisan on the project at the right time.
Yes.
And making sure that our artisans stay relevant. And we don't want to get to the point, we don't want a pyramid organization where people at the top don't do the work.
Yes, it's important that everyone stay grounded.
Yeah,
especially in a technology-driven industry such as ours, where things change all the time.
Yeah.
So wonderful. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Hopefully everybody got something from that. And so thanks for joining us, and stay tuned for yet another video episode of a trend in UE coming up soon. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.